Hi, I'm Jim Kocher, Senior National Sales Director from Singer Island, Florida.
My name is Paul Neely, and I'm an NSD from Phoenix, Arizona.
Hi, I'm Godfrey John, Regional Vice President from Valley Stream, New York.
And this is Training for Champions. I'd like to share with you about a very important concept in building our business and working with clients, and that's the power of listening. Sales in Primerica is helping people make decisions that are in their best interest through the artful use of questions, stories, and analogies. But when we ask a question, the key is to listen. I think sometimes we think that communication and giving a presentation is talk, but actually it's listening. And same with working with our agents. The power of listening is it gives us solutions to people's problems because we understand their problems. It gives us insight into what they're thinking. It helps us to understand what their perceptions of us and the company. And it helps us to know how to train our agents. So listening is not just important with our clients, but also with our agents. And it communicates that we care about them. So when you're listening, you want to lean forward, you want to give eye contact, you want to pay attention, you want to be an active listener. Now, what are some dangers of listening? One is distracted listening. It seems like you go out to restaurants today and everybody has their phone out, not talking to each other. Response-focused listening. What am I going to say? How should I say? How am I going to respond? Judgmental listening. We're judging them. Intolerant. We're being intolerant of them. One better. Always telling, I got my story, and interrupting them. We want to work on becoming great listeners. One great question to ask is, I'm sure you have a reason for saying that. Would you mind sharing it with me? Would you elaborate further? I'm not sure I'm understanding. Would you explain it a little bit more in depth for me? And master the art of listening. If you want to lead people, develop relationships with people, build a business, create great clients, one of the overlooked skills is listening. Let's all of us become better listeners. We all need to work on it. I know I need to work on it. And let's go out and change the world.
Today, I want to cover with you a winning presentation. And I think there's three things, regardless of what specific presentation you're using, there's three things that we in our business focus on. And that's about describing to individuals what they need to know, what they need to do, and then how they need to feel. Right? And this can go from a recruiting presentation or a regular sales presentation. So when we talk about what we need to know, right, this could be getting a financial independence number. Clients need to know about that. Getting a debt freedom date. Clients need to know about that. Or even being properly protected. Clients need to know about that. So once we figured out what we know, then we need to figure out what we need to do. And so when we were talking with clients, we talk about, so what we're going to do about that is we are going to get you a financial independence number. We are going to get you a debt freedom date. And what we are going to do is get you properly protected. And the most important part of all this is that third part of how to feel. Right? And so when we get to the end of how they're going to feel through this whole process is letting them know how they could be the hero to their family once they become financially independent, how being debt free is actually going to be and the burden that's going to be lifted off of them. And in the event something horrible happens, how being properly protected is going to make sure that their legacy continues on. These same three things translate over to recruiting presentations, right? So if we're letting people know, like, here's what we need to know, our crusade against cash value life insurance, our crusade in letting families know that money is still a hard thing for people to grasp at some point in times, right? And so once people know that, we're going to let them know how what they need to do, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to get you licensed to help us on this mission. We're going to get you licensed to get the word out. We're going to be doing some great things. And ultimately, they're going to understand how it's going to make them feel, right? How being working for themselves is going to feel, how them building a business that's going to last a legacy or last their lifetime is going to make them feel across the board. And so those are some things. So just remember, as we're recapping, finishing up an appointment, we want people to leave there with three things, right? What we want them to know, what we want them to do, and how we want them to feel. You have those three things, you have a winning presentation.
So today, guys, what I want to talk to you about is closing at the kitchen table. Now, there are several fundamentals that we need to master in the business. Closing is one of the most important ones. So closing actually begins as soon as you walk into the person's house, or in this case, sometimes we're doing it as soon as we sit in front of the camera in the Zoom room. So the first thing that I do when I walk into the person's house is that I take my shoes off. That immediately shows that I have respect for the person's home. Some people are very conscious about that. Let them tell me that it's okay to keep my shoes on. Then I'm going to make some kind of way, find some kind of way to connect with that person. Look around the home. Do they have sports memorabilia on the wall? Are there pictures of their children? Is there something we can gather a conversation with? Because you know what? We want to break the ice. We don't never want to just jump right in to start trying to sell somebody or close somebody or do a presentation. People are buying me. When I walk into that home, I'm not selling Primerica. I'm selling Godfrey John because I want to create a value. I want to create a relationship. So we're going to talk about the sports team. Oh, you like the Jets? Too bad. I'm a Giants fan. We make a joke about it. So you went to nursing school. I see you have a degree on there. My mom was a nurse. You have kids. I have kids. Something that's going to connect and break the ice with people because that's where the closing begins. Now, when coming to a person's house, you want to make sure that you're dressed for success as well. You know what? You want to be presentable. Make sure you're clean. Make sure your clothes are tidy, organized, business casual, whatever it is. Always ask yourself the question, would you do business with someone who is dressed like you? Make that feel comfortable. So when we're starting, even in the Zoom room, make sure that if the cameras are on, because we want to connect with people. We want to be able to observe their body language. We want to be able to make sure that they're staying engaged, that they're not running behind the kids or doing 20 other things while we're doing our presentation. And as we move into the presentation, you want to be prepared, teammates. That's really important that, we understand the information, be prepared, practice and rehearse ahead of time. But remember, guys, don't get nervous. Even if you mess up, the client doesn't know. They don't know what you're supposed to be saying, so it's okay. Just keep moving all along. Because remember, you're that professional when you're sitting in front of the person. Now, the other thing you have to understand is that as we go through the presentation, we're going to condition that client to say yes. We're going to ask them never ask them open-ended questions. We're going to ask them things. Did you find that information valuable? Yes. Isn't this something everybody should know about? Yes. I'm nodding my head. I'm looking at you. I'm making sure that you agree with me, because when it comes down to the end of the presentation, we're going to say, so we're getting your policy started today. Yes. They're already programmed and conditioned to say yes, guys. Part of being prepared is making sure that if you're using electronic devices, a laptop, a tablet, your cell phone, make sure the batteries are charged. Make sure that you have your Wi-Fi or a mobile hotspot. You don't want to necessarily depend on your client's Wi-Fi to get going. Make sure that you have everything that you need in case something goes wrong. If you're using a presentation, whatever it is, you want to make sure that everything is set to go, and that's not going to distract from the time that you're spending with the clients. And closing at the kitchen table, it's very important. After you've delivered a wonderful presentation, after you've answered all your client's questions, the very next step is that you're going to tell the client what happens next. You're going to say, you know what, you found this information valuable. Yes, we did. You know people who can benefit from this. Yes. You don't have our product. So what we're going to do next, right now, we're going to get you set up to make sure that your family is properly protected. Is that okay? Yes. And then we get started. And guys, don't forget to get the referrals. That's going to make an effective closing at the kitchen table.
Thank you for watching Training for Champions. Let's use these tools and go make a difference.